get a valuation on their company, and then I give them the roadmap to ultimately scale that business so that they can get to that dream number to ultimately actually retire. Because too many people are working in the business, and they never really think about exit. They never really think about the next chapter because they're so involved in the business when they don't realize that 80% of their net worth is in their business. It's just wild to think about it because people just look at it as a source of revenue as opposed to an actual investment that you need to invest into so that you could one day sell it for a much higher value than what you went in for, which was zero or negative. And yeah, that's what I'm all about. I'm big on YouTube. I mean, that's been my channel now for 5 years. I was a public insurance adjuster for 16 years. And over the last year, I've made the switch. So my channel has kind of shifted from commercial claims advocate to just the Vince Perri official show. And we really talk to entrepreneurs, business owners. We talk about scaling, marketing strategies, and how to really ultimately, again, increase the value of your business. And it's beautiful because, like you, we get to talk to all kinds of different people. And I've kind of gone the road now where I'm just going to do what I want and I'm going to interview who I want. And literally on today's show, I recorded a guest who's a mental health specialist, a mental health expert, and she's a therapist, and just a great show that we had. And it was so much fun. As someone who's seek therapy because he desperately needed it and it freaking helped a lot.
So let me ask you a question, and since you work with entrepreneurs and you yourself have gone through something as well, what do you think are some of the obstacles? Actually, let me rephrase that. Do you find that people invest in their companies more so than themselves? If so, why?
I think if they do that, that's not the way to do it. You know, I listen to a lot of people. I have a lot of mentors that I've never met in person, like Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins and all these guys. And they always talk about the importance of self-development, the importance of continuing to develop yourself. Not only does it make you a better business person, it makes you a better leader. It makes you a better motivator for your team. It makes you a better family member, makes you a better father. Just by continuing to educate yourself and continuing to get better and learn more and develop more as a human being, it goes so much farther than any kind of business strategy that you're implementing, than any kind of SOP that you're putting together, than any kind of process that runs in your company. Although those things are very important, if I had to choose a place to make sure that you're investing more, it's definitely in yourself because it will allow you to gain the not only knowledge and experience, but the proper mindset and positivity to make the right decisions on where to invest in your business. So I would say, I'm not sure if I answered the question because the way you phrased it was sort of like which ones, why do they do it? I don't know why they do it, but they shouldn't, is the answer.
No, that does, because that leads me to like think of I started doing this later on in life, but as I was building up working in companies, I remember there's a version of terrain that puts so much into my job that sometimes I forgot to pour into myself. And a number of things happened, right? Like I worked longer days, I neglected my health, I didn't go to the gym as much. My nutrition was like nowhere to be seen because you're just eating to get through the day. And I'm glad that you mentioned that they should pour more into themselves. What do you think are some of the obstacles that people face when it comes to scaling their business as well as maintaining that type of demand of them?
I just think it's a mindset. I just think that they don't understand that I mean, yeah, I get you would know as well, just like me, is you think that you have to do all these things. We become like these sort of busybodies where, oh my God, there's nothing to do right now. I need to find something to do. No, like the therapist said today, Kelly's her name. Kelly was so cool. And at the end of the interview, I asked her, like, what's just one tip that you can give? This is the last thing. Like, what's one thing that you could say from that entrepreneur, from that business person, or just from that person who's like sort of overwhelmed? And she said, what did she say? She said, hold on, I'll find it right now. She'll say, practice the pause. And it's when she said that, I was like, yes, because I've been having that conversation with people where if I find myself now with quote unquote nothing to do, where it's not on the calendar, it's not a to do, and I don't really have anything to do, I could think of something and I could probably find it. But you know what? It's okay sometimes to just sit down and take a couple minutes to yourself and just do nothing. I would even go so far, and this may be against what you believe or others believe, but sometimes there's nothing wrong with a mindless scroll through social media just to just sort of like forget about the stuff, and everything that you got going on where you could just let go. Like I used to tell my wife, like, why are you watching that crap? And my wife works hard, man. She's very, very successful and she works hard throughout the day. And yeah, before she goes to sleep, she just likes to watch some mindless television to sort of like get away. And I could tell that that helps her sort of recalibrate so that she could ultimately, get a nice rest and start the next day. So practice the pause I thought was really cool of just sort of, maybe sitting down for a couple minutes and not doing anything.
I call that doom scrolling, where you're just scrolling and you're like, oh, this is so relaxing because after like a long day, right? All the demands and everything, like, you know what? I just want to sit like a pig in mud. I don't want to think about anything else. I don't want to do anything else, and I think sometimes we get so caught up in trying to fill
Mhm,
our day. Like you mentioned, right? We have an extra 3 hours. Okay, how can I fill it? Can I do this? No, just sit.
mhm.
Enjoy yourself. You mentioned that you were going through some of this. What are some of the ways that you found to just keep your mind at ease and mindless scroll?
Well, the mindless scroll is one. I mean, I'm an avid meditator, and by meditating, I like to manifest. I follow Napoleon Hill, which I mean that book was written probably over 100 years ago. I follow his sort of advice of having your ideal self written out in the present tense, like literally write it out as if it's already happened. Your dream life, your ultimate life, whatever it is. Have your goals listed and set out, and read them every single night and read them again every single morning. Now, why? There's a science behind that. Literally, when you're sleeping, it's really the only time that you're tapping into your subconscious. So, right before bedtime, you are at this particular state that I don't know the exact name of it, but you're about to enter that state. And if you could feed your brain with that ideal state that you want and ultimately change your subconscious, you could actually do it by reading this certain statement and reading it over and over and over again, going to sleep. And then when you wake up, there is a portion of your brain there where you don't want to do a mindless scroll because that's you don't want to fill your brain up with anything like that. But you read those goals again. And what I've come to notice is my subconscious slowly changing and getting better, and I sleep well at night as opposed to me waking up in sweats at 3:30 in the morning when I was at eight figures in my seven figures in my company with 20 some odd employees. And it was just an absolute nightmare waking up 3:30 in the morning in sweats. And, it's just a complete change when you learn how to actually tap into the subconscious and change the subconscious because that's the hardest thing to do. We're so unaware sometimes of what's going on in the subconscious where, like, I didn't know until I was able to see a professional how negative I really was. I didn't know how much lack of confidence that I had when from the outside everybody thought I was confident. And even from the inside, I would tell myself, but there was something going on in the back that was just a lot of doubts, a lot of negativity, a lot of just limiting beliefs of what I'm capable of, and so on and so forth. And again, you learn, you read, you study, you find out these different things. And when you really learn about the human body, the human consciousness, the human brain, the human subconscious, and how amazing we are as animals, as mammals, of what we're capable of. All of us are special beings. All of us are capable of amazing things. I know people say it all the time, but it's the freaking truth. Where if you could just probably set your mind to it, take action from there, you could achieve some of the most amazing things that this planet has ever seen.
I recently spoke to a coach because I needed just some guidance in regards to my life. And when you mentioned limiting beliefs and what you're capable of, it reminded me of the session I had where I had to figure out, am I capable of becoming the type of man that I want to be? Not only for my partner, but for what I'm trying to do and overall, because there's a little bit of hesitation if I was fully equipped to perform and to be capable. And I remember that conversation, even though it was a couple of weeks ago now, and I remember like I just had it this morning, and it's very enlightening. When you figured out that you needed guidance, therapy, and things like that, what was the cause or what events led up to that day?
That's a great question because it's a great story. My Venmo account got hacked. That's what it was. There was so much going on. again, 20 some odd employees. We're breaking seven figures. We're doing well, but not we weren't doing as well as I thought we were doing. And it was a mess. I mean, the mistake I made is not only I didn't scale too fast, I hired incorrectly and I hired in the wrong order, but that's for another show. My Venmo account gets hacked. I get a call from Venmo, or I think or thought was Venmo, and they're just like, "Hey, your Venmo account's been hacked." And I'm like, "Okay." They're just like, "Well, do you see this account that's in there?" And they were right. There was like some weird account that was in there. They're about to take your money. If you don't get your money out, you need to get your money out immediately. And I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm going to try to get my money." I was like, "No, you can't take it out of your account because your account's not there, like your bank account. So you can't take it out now. And you need to take it into this account." And I'm like, "Wait a minute. I don't know who you are. I can't trust you. Why would I take it into that account? That doesn't make any sense." Anyway, I hung up the phone. 5 minutes later, it's zero. There was $7,500 in there, roughly, and it's zero. I was like, "Oh, wow." I blame myself because who keeps money in their Venmo account? If somebody pays you through Venmo, what do? You transfer it into your bank account immediately. You don't leave it in there. But I forgot it was there. Three separate clients had paid me for the service, and I completely forgot it was there. What happens when you're overwhelmed like that? I call it scatterbrain. You've got so much going on, you lose really your memory, decision making. You can't do anything. It's a nightmare. So I forgot that money was there. I tell my wife, I'll never forget, I was sitting right here, but I was sitting down. So my wife was standing up and I told her a story. She just looked at me, Terrain, with this look of disgust. Because she knew this was all happening. I was all just like going crazy for like almost 6 months or a year maybe. And she's like, we've been having some issues and I can see you're having issues. We need to go see we need to go see a therapist. And I just looked at her back and I said, "No, no, we don't need to see a therapist.